We will not need to even have the ceremonial opening. One ceremonial opening is absolutely wonderful. That's good enough for us. But in terms of what is being done, do we have up to another 5 now? Because if you're building 400 schools between now and 2015, we would expect that some of them will be completed by the end of this year.
Absolutely. We can give you about 15 before the end of the year and even more.
Okay, so that means there is no clear statistics or numbers. Then let's go to the university. The universities as of today, 9 of them, how many have been built? And when are they expecting to be in operation? Because we're talking about the scorecard of the president and this government.
Okay, this government is just a year old. It came into office on the 29th of May 2011. And building a university is not a matter to be done in 12 months. The Harvard that you people want to go to, Oxford, these are universities that are built over several years. In fact, let me take Harvard specifically. The name Harvard was given it by a man who donated almost 400, just about 400 books, between 400 and 700 books, and the name was changed to Harvard. Just donating books, but the buildings over time came into place. So as we speak, a number of these universities, the building processes are on. Maybe tomorrow, you may decide to go to Otuoke and build 4 buildings for the university.
Okay, Mr. Douglas, my problem is that the university education does not seem to be the beginning of our problem. The problems begin at the lower level, primary school, secondary school. So when the children get to university, they don't even have the kind of knowledge that's required to do that kind of work at that tertiary level. What is being done at that lower level, where our children don't even understand basic English, in which they go, the language through which they will be taught in the university?
Yes. Yes, Lady Alera, I will even go a little bit lower than primary school to kindergarten education. The first 5 years of a child's life is critical to his or her educational advancement. If you don't have that preparatory stage to get the child to enter a primary school, you will not be in a position to guarantee that he can read and write when he gets to university. So the first port of call, I will say, is kindergarten education, which means partnership between the parents and the government, whether at the local level, state level, or federal level. Education is a partnership. The kind of English language that my son speaks, I was not speaking that kind of language when I was his age at age 5. So it is about ensuring that the kindergarten education is properly into place, and federal government policy is to ensure that the policy framework is right for that. The federal government cannot go establish kindergarten education in local government, in communities. The federal government, however, is responsible to support the primary education through UBEC, University Basic Education. And those support processes, if you look at the budget, it is ongoing. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, education had its lion's share last year. This year, it is the second in the budget. So as Dr. Jonathan continues to prioritize education, Nigeria will be on the rise. Remember, he is one president who launched Bring Back the Book. The level of illiteracy, the level of no knowledge that is abound in the society has to be addressed. And you cannot address that except and until it is in partnership with the communities, the parents, the state, the local, and so on.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We will come back to you in a minute. But while we're still on the issue of education, Dr. Tam George is here. What's your perception of what Oronto Douglas has just been talking about in terms of the policies of this government? And when we do the scorecard, where do you rate us?
Well, I think that Mr. Oronto is right in terms of the policy framework that the federal government has a responsibility to put in place. He mentioned kindergarten education, which, as we know, is the foundation of all the superstructure of educational system of a country. And what the federal government has the responsibility to do is to come up with a policy framework. But what I suspect is responsible for the slow pace of this administration is because there has been a rot since in the late 70s. What we are facing now is a systemic meltdown. There has been a problem that has lasted for decades. And so I think that one way we can look at it more realistically is to acknowledge that this government has been in place for just over a year now. And that what we should judge is not so much the amount of universities, the amount of schools that have actually been built, as much as the foundation that is being laid. And I think that
when you look, sorry to break in here,
yes.
when you look at the foundation that is being laid,
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity of speaking with one or two governors in recent time, and their understanding of the situation is that the federal government should hands off from the implementation of nursery and primary education so that they let the people who are within the locality of where those schools are situated, they should be the ones running it. How do you expect somebody in Abuja to run primary school in Etiosa local government if the local government chairman and the state government are not the one implementing the federal policy?
Well, you see, what I think is that there has to be the components of partnership. You see, whether these institutions are run by local governments or run by states, of course, if you look at the responsibility of local governments and states, you recognize that certain levels of education must be left to those levels of government. There's no question about that. But what I suspect we need to emphasize is the question of partnership. Because once there is a policy framework, education in the last analysis aims at building a good citizen, a good industry-ready citizen. If you talk about curriculum design, that is where I think we need to put emphasis on. It's not so much, the mechanics of who runs a particular level of institution as much as the quality of curriculum design. Mm-hmm. So far, what we've seen it has been that people seem to place emphasis on simply getting certificates as much as whether they have the actual competence. Mm-hmm. So if you're convening a conference where all kinds of experts will come together to look at the quality of curriculum design right from the primary schools up to the university, then this question of partnership kicks in across all the levels of government. So I don't think there should be a tussle between whether this is a local government responsibility. Local governments can't even clean up markets. So, no, precisely, this is a serious matter. Local governments don't even execute primary responsibilities. So I think the education is so fundamental that you can't play politics with it. So what we can do is to make sure that whether the federal government or the local government or the state governments are involved, they should see this as a collective enterprise warranting the spirit of partnership. I think that is what Oronto is trying to emphasize.
Okay. We've since been joined by Mr. Ebun Onoguru Adegboruwa,
Mm-hmm.
who's a legal practitioner. You haven't been here in so long, I've forgotten how to pronounce your surname.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now, you listened to all that the advisor to the president said, but of course, education seems to be the most important of everything we're talking about. To your mind, listening to him, do you think that we're going in the right direction? Because the rot in the education sector is simply, indescribable. Where we have graduates who can't even write one sentence correct in English, and yet they are graduates. And we're being told now that the government is planning to build 9 more universities. Who's going to teach in those universities?
I was actually chuckling on my seat here while listening to my friend Oronto Douglas. Very recently, there was another release of the World Index of Universities. Amongst the top 500, Nigeria was not listed at all. No university in Nigeria was listed. That will sum up all the achievement of this particular government in terms of education. Now you will see that there is a gradual increase in the private universities in particular. Virtually the federal universities are collapsing because the quality is not there. Because the government is not taking care of the lecturers, the government is not giving academic freedom to or the institutions to operate. You see in Rivers State currently, the governing council is not allowed to appoint the vice chancellor, leading to strike and collapse of the university. It's no longer accurate for you to send your children to university and expect that they will graduate in 4 years. The chairman of all the pro-chancellors, Dr. Wale Babalakin, recently went to Ghana and said we were wasting billions of naira in taking our children to those places. I don't know whether he's not aware. And then when you look at that, you see that there is a deliberate effort on the part of government to discourage excellence in the federal institutions as a way of promoting their friends who have institutions, who were in government, who have retired, either in General Obasanjo or so many of them who have now established University at Atiku. So what the government is doing is it has no policy at all. And I expected him to mention a policy. He's just talking about policy. There is no policy. And if you want to assess this government, you go into aviation. There's been a major crash in the course of the administration of this particular regime, killing over 150 Nigerians. A DIG was killed in Jos when an helicopter crashed. A businesswoman was killed in Oshogbo here when she was going to Ilorin, and so many others like that. And this in the 1 year of this regime, we have witnessed greater air disaster than 4 years of other regime. And so I don't know what he's talking about. When you go into the road sector, I mean, for 1 week now, you can't go to Abuja. Everybody is stranded in Lokoja there. We can move anywhere. If you drive from here to Benin, you will see the state of our roads. The same thing in the health sector. The same thing in the judiciary. If you want to talk about any imperative now, as he has mentioned, when you take independence, you take military, you take civilian, he should have mentioned the corruption imperative. That is the imperative that is ruling Nigeria now, corruption, by which the commonwealth of the resources of our people are not channeled for the progress of the people. Individuals are able to embezzle billions of money. Individuals are able to amass so much money that will probably be greater than that of a whole state. So the states are crippled. Resources are ended in the hands of private individuals to the extent that even in the president's own home state, a church was built for him as a show of gratitude by some contractors who were able to get job. So I'm saying that if you want to see any index for success, you go to the filling stations this morning and you see queue there. And this is a government that increased fuel from 65 naira to 97 naira in January and promised heaven on earth and said that the energy sector was going to get resolved, there was going to be progress, and yet the thing is getting worse.
It is being resolved.
No, I'm saying there is queue. As I'm coming this morning, there is no fuel all over Nigeria. In fact, in some places, they are selling 150 per liter.
Okay, let me quickly
That's the way to
ask,
summarize the government.